Welcome back to the Armenian Museum of America. I'm Gary Lind-Sinanian, the curator, and I'm here today to talk about another interesting Armenian aspect of Armenian culture, Subtan, house shrines. We have an extraordinary reliquary in our collection, which is a hand, a brass hand, which I'll talk about at a different occasion. But right now I want to talk about the background of that. Originally, Aghavny Demirjian was a woman in Rhode Island, and she had been put in a nursing home and dementia. And she kept raving about, you have to save the hands in the house. And so they sent somebody to the house to find what they were talking about, and they couldn't find anything. And then when she was a little more lucid again, she said, "It's in my bedroom, in my armoire." So the woman went to the bedroom, and there was an armoire in there, and she opened the armoire up, and inside there were 3 steps. And these were on the steps: dried flowers, little containers of incense, and but there was no hand. And the woman was, "Oh, what is this?" And she noticed there were hinges on the steps, so she took it all off. The steps folded back, and inside was the reliquary. And I mentioned, I'll show you the reliquary elsewhere. But these are the things that are outside the reliquary. And this is a phenomenon very common in Armenian culture called the Subtan, a house shrine. Any Armenian village that could afford to would build a church, of course. But there were small villages that didn't have enough wealth or demographics in order to create a church. But every Armenian community had a focus for worship. And this would often be a house shrine. It could be something outside too, such as a tree you pray at, or a certain kind of rock that was somehow touched by God. But there was something God touched. Somebody might go to a different, make a pilgrimage to a monastery or a church, and take one little stone and bring it back, and they put that down in the shrine, and they pray to the stone. It's a stone representing God, something touched by God. And these were a very common phenomena. And Aghavny had a house shrine in her house. And so she had all these objects on there as a focal point for praying. The reliquary was there, but she also had another quite common phenomena for praying also. Well, first off, of course, she had various kinds of containers, but all these were incense. And so she had these are the pieces for the incense here that she would use. And also, this would be also holding incense. This is a wonderful little silver box, and the design of it is Mount Ararat, and you can see the sun rising at Ararat and some sheep in the foreground there. And the design of this repeating pattern, very precise repeating pattern, very typical of Armenian jewelry. Armenian jewelry tends to be etching, and this is niello work. And it's geometric, basically. Mostly it's geometric. The kind of, today you might think Armenians are associated with filigree silver, but that's a fairly new phenomenon, 20th century. This is much more traditional as far as the work here. And of course, and you might have a box like this. The silver box, this has to be for somebody fairly well-to-do for silver. But again, beautiful design on it, the cross. And outside you see the various floral designs. And why would you worship with this box? Because of the contents. These are liturgical hosts. From Sunday when you go to church, or you might make a pilgrimage to a church, and you would receive the wafer, and you would bring usually you consume the wafer right there. But some people will bring it home, or sometimes you take one to bring to somebody who hasn't gone to church because they was sick. You might give them the wafer at home. And in this case, Aghavny saved all these wafers from church, and each time she would put it in this box. And this box would function as the focal point of a subtan. And so, and as I said, this is a very typical in Armenian culture. This is one example in Armenia, a contemporary one. You can see this in a village home right here. And the various photographs. Sometimes it's not a sacred object. It could be just simply a photograph of Christ or a photograph of Mary, something or other but it has to be somehow religiously oriented. Or it might be a small Bible, but the whole idea is whatever the object is, it somehow references God. And so you use that as your focal point for your prayers. And so these are the various objects that were used by Aghavny at her own personal house shrine. The Armenian Museum is here to share our stories, our history, our culture with the public. We thank you for joining us. We have many activities on our website if you check it, and we have some great programs at the museum. Wonderful art show on the third floor right now. Until next time, stay safe.